Our first guest today is the founding executive director of nonprofit Coyote Watch Canada, Lesley Samson. As we are in coyote mating season right now, we need to learn what to do to coexist and stay safe with coyotes as our neighbors right here in Niagara.
Yes, Mike, and actually that reunion of the monogamous mated pair has most likely taken place already, and so there's a really short window of time where the breeding pair in a home range, they have a set territory that they live in, so that breeding pair has a very short window. It's at the most a week.
Those new pups are active from last year by this spring, and what you're looking at is some very protective parents as well from about 62 to 63 days after mating.
Right. So, there is this dialogue about coyotes being more protective and more active during mating season. Well, coyotes are active every day of the year. They are defending their territory from non-related solo coyotes that might be passing through or wanting to take over their territory. They're also having to hunt and forage to survive another day. So their activity, and also in the winter time, as you know, the foliage is down. It's very easy to see these coyote families active in the landscape, but they will be protective of their mates and their pups once they're born in late April, early May. They're protective of the family until those pups are able to exist as young adults within the home range. And some of the young pups, so pups that were born in 2021 in late April, May, those pups might be in the landscape still with mom and dad, but there's a lot of dispersal and movement within coyote families.
Are we actually seeing more coyotes in the Niagara area right now, or is it a factor? I had this theory during the pandemic, as fewer people were coming in as tourists and more people were staying at home during the lockdowns, that coyotes were seen a little more often because they were able to roam more freely.
Absolutely. I mean, coming out the other side of the pandemic, a lot of spaces, these pockets of viable habitat, obviously, wildlife species are very mobile. And so, we had an uptick in deer sightings and fox sightings. And so that landscape that typically would have had a lot of human activity was all of a sudden very quiet. And so then all of a sudden, we're able to do more things outdoors and we're using space, and a lot more people did get outdoors during the pandemic to, keep their spirits high. And so, you're seeing, but if you're, let's say, for example, you're at a park in St. Catharines, the coyotes that you're seeing in that park are most likely the same coyote family that's been there established for many years. Unless they die, mortality does impact, new coyotes moving into an area as well. So we are not seeing an increase in coyote populations. And unfortunately, Mike, that kind of data is really not recorded. And again, folks are seeing the same coyotes over and over and not recognizing that fact.
What can people here in Niagara do to stay safe, to coexist with coyotes, and to make sure that they know what to do when they see one?
First and foremost, never feed coyotes. You shouldn't be feeding any wildlife, but the messaging then gets very blurred to these very intelligent, capable canids that it's okay to be in closer proximity to people. So what we would like folks to do is, first of all, do your own inventory on your private property. Make sure you don't have food attractants. Leaving cat food bowls out, with food in them will attract coyotes to a person's backyard. Also, sealing up underneath decks and outbuildings, any old dens that you might have from other animals, from raccoons or they hunker down. They're not denning under the deck, but they might hunker down there. Groundhogs, possums, skunks, all of those animals, or a fox, coyote might use that as a viable den. So seal up those buildings, make sure you do that wildlife proofing. And then when you're out in the community recreating, make sure that you take your headphones and earbuds out, put them away. Don't be on your cell phone. Be very aware. Obey all the bylaws for leashing up our pets. And in green spaces, you're pretty likely to run into a coyote, fox, or a deer. And all of those animals will respond to a dog off leash like another predator. And so they're going to be defensive. And so we don't want folks to have the thought that, it's okay, I'm going to let my dog run loose in here. It's a green space, it's a bush, nobody's around. They could run into another animal, another dog off leash. The other thing is this notion that we need to be feeding our wildlife. Coyotes will be coming back to the same location over and over in the cemetery area, parking lots, construction sites, golf courses. Folks don't realize that that harmful handout essentially sets these animals and other folks that come afterwards that might not have ever fed wildlife. They're out walking with their dog on a leash, and there begins that escalation of potential conflict.